Start streaming. That should do it. That should do it, and that explains why Ken was waiting. Push the button. Yeah. And now we have video. Thank you very much. That's why Ken was waiting. Otis is here. For those of you that weren't here earlier when I was taking roll, Otis is here, Rudy's here, Mike's here, Jim's here, Michael's here, Rich is here, Beister's here, Dan's here, Ken's here, Todd's here, Nick's here, Joni is here, Hassan's here, and Anderson's here. You can't have too many buttons. Too darn many buttons. And Cliff is here. Hello, Cliff. Cliff was our star last week. And Martin K is here. Welcome, sir. I need to have an X keys with one button. That's right. That says, make it work. Oh, my goodness. Well, we got Tyler coming up here in just a second. Tyler? You know what? His video is frozen. Let's see if we've got any video. No, we've lost his call. We have lost his call. Let me call him, and he may not know that he's gotten disconnected. Let's see. Maybe he's been trying to call me. No, that wasn't him. So, 1 second. Oh, there he is. Okay. I was just calling you.
Tom, you called it so well. You said that the first time that we did a live stream, I would have problems. And as sure enough, as soon as I sat down, the computer shut down.
Oh, my goodness. Wouldn't you know it? So that explains why we dropped the call. Okay.
Yes. Sorry about that.
Nope, it's not a problem. Let's see. I want to check one thing. By the way, we're live. We're in pre-show. We've got folks that are chit-chatting.
Hey, everybody.
Do you want to try to send me 1080p video? I think that's going to make some of the text appear a little better.
All right. Let me see if...
What you do is that little image, the input in vMix that has both you and me in it, right-click that and select Call Manager. Open Call Manager. Actually, you don't even need to do that. Just right-click it, and down at the bottom, you can just select High 1080, 1080p, 4000K BPS.
All right. How's that look, Tom?
And that will shift you back. Oh, you look outstanding. I mean, it helps if you're a good-looking guy to begin with, but yeah, okay. All right.
From one good-looking guy to another, I appreciate the compliment.
Well, you're welcome. Now we need to get our audios equalized. So let me get yours and mine up here at the same place at the same time. And yeah, we may have to play around with that a little bit. All right. All right. So can you see the chat room? I bet you can't.
I cannot see the chat room.
You can't see the chat room. Okay. We should have talked about this. There is an address, a URL that you can go to see the chat. But if you don't have any computer screens available, then we won't worry about it. You'll just have to go back and look at it later and see all the nice things that people have said about you and me.
Okay.
So let's see. So we've got a bunch of folks in chat. Rich Ignacio's there. Rich is the 2018 Live Streamer of the Year from Streaming Idiots. Mike's here. Martin's here. Jim, Otis, Dave, David, Rudy, Clint, Nick, Cliff, Mike, Michael, Dan, Chris, Beister, Ken, Todd, Kent, Kevin, Jonia, and Hassan are all in the chat. Now, there may be other folks watching that are watching us on Facebook, either in the Streaming Idiots group or on the Eastern Shore Broadcasting Facebook's page, or they may be watching us on YouTube directly, and they're not logged into chat. So if anybody that wants to get involved in the chat, if you will go to Eastern Shore Broadcasting, you can see that right down there, easternshorebroadcasting.com, and click the Watch Live tab, then boom, you can get it. Let's see, we should have already started the show, but that's all right. We're in pre-show, folks, so don't get upset. Tyler is going to answer all of your questions about PoE in the post-show. But he's got a really cool presentation that we're going to do in the show, and we're going to get that started in just... Oh, and Jan is here. Sorry, Jan is here. Forgot about Jan. Jan is here. So good. All right, so we got him. And Nick is here. He finally found the chat. All right. So you guys need to know that Tyler doesn't have the chat up in front of him. So if you're saying something to him, he's not ignoring you. He just doesn't see it. And so in the post show, we'll go through and I'll get y'all to repost all your questions, and we'll kind of walk through them one at a time. One of these days, we may have to use vMix Social for this. That would be really cool. Okay, Tyler, you ready to go?
I'm ready. Let's get this started, Tom.
Okay, so I'm going to mute you, and then we're going to switch formats.
Great.
And then you'll hear me introduce you, and you'll know that's the time to take that dum-dum. You know, dum-dums are the official candy of Streaming Idiots. You remember dum-dums from when you were a kid. Pop that dum-dum out, get ready to go. It's time to go. All right, so Tyler gets on mute, and I'm going to mute this mic and unmute the other mic, and we will be in business, I think. All right, 1 second here, folks. Here we go. Actually, I think we can do it from over there. Let's see. We've rearranged the studio again, trying to get the right fit. And hopefully we have. Let's go. Let's start the show. There's a button on here for starting the show. Here it is. Well, hello and welcome. I'm Tom Sinclair. This is Streaming Idiots. That's right. You have arrived at the tail end. There's nothing else to watch on the internet anymore. You've come to the very last show. No, I'm teasing, of course. You're here because you enjoy live streaming, or because you somehow just fell off a truck and bumped your head and turned on your computer and this is what came up. You just never know. I'm almost tongue-tied today because I'm so excited about my guest. But before we get to the guest, wait, there's more. First off, we got to remember to save the date. Don't forget that when you go to NAB 2019 in April, beginning on April 8th in Las Vegas, that you want to make sure you stay over on the 9th. April 9th is the date. That is the date of the Streaming Idiots, the annual. This will be the third annual Streaming Idiots meetup. If you don't do anything else in Las Vegas, never mind, you get that one. So come meet all your streaming buddies. The venue is still undecided. We've got some ideas, but we're trying to work it out where we don't do any damage. We had more folks than we expected last year, and so we're kind of planning for the same thing this year. But come, by all means, come. It's going to be fun. We'll just have to figure out where it's going to be, and it will be Tuesday evening, April 9th, at some time in the evening at some location in Las Vegas that'll be pretty easy to get to. We think we might actually do it on the floor of NAB after the show closes, because we're just concerned about getting access for everything. So we'll have more details as we get closer to that. But save the date, April 9th. If you're gonna be at NAB, make sure you stay over Tuesday night so you can meet all of the streaming idiots. It's gonna be a ton of fun, and we're gonna have some prizes and some giveaways. Everybody will get something. I'm sure, but you won't want to miss it. So that's the date. April. What's the date again? What was that day? April 9th? Yeah. That's it. April 9th. So save the date for April 9th. If you were under a rock yesterday and you did not watch the vMix Fun Time live show for January, how's that for a name of a show? Goodness gracious. Well, the big news of that show is, yes, you would think the big news would be the vMix 22 beta, but no. You would think, okay, well, maybe the big news would be that the vMix 22 beta now uses the Stream Deck and has got activators going for it. No, that's not the big news either. If you're thinking, well, maybe vMix 22 is being released early, that's not the big news either. The big news is that Tim shaved his beard. That's right. If you go watch the vMix Fun Time live show for January, you will see Tim sans beard. He looks like he looks like a kid. Anyway, sorry about that, Tim. Couldn't resist. But Tim and maybe even Martin will be at the streaming. Martin talked about the Streaming Idiots meetup last night on the vMix Fun Time live show, so maybe that means he'll come. I hope that's the case. So I want you guys to make sure you come. And of course, if you haven't already, go ahead and download the vMix 22 beta and give it a shot. You can revert back to vMix 21 on the same PC with the same license. Won't make any difference. Oh, you do have to update your license. If your license is 2017 or older, you're going to have to update your license. It's going to cost you $60. It's been in the rules with vMix forever, but they never enforced it. Well, now they're enforcing it because vMix 22 is just going to be stellar. So if you want to get a sneak peek, you can update your vMix, and you can actually get a 10% discount on your update to vMix with the code GIFT, GIFT, my gift to you, when you buy the update at easternshorebroadcasting.com. It's in the store there, and you'll need to make sure you send me your license key and all that, and we will update you to the latest version, vMix 22 beta, for $60. You can't beat $60. It's a deal. And if you don't want to update now, and you want to wait until April when vMix 22 is released, no problem. We're using vMix 22 right now, and I love it. Now, what are we using with vMix 22 that we weren't using with vMix 21? Today, probably not anything. Previously, we had been playing around with the GT title designer, Gran Turismo, and so we'll probably do some more playing with that. But for today, we're not doing anything special. We just have a superlative guest. We do. We have a superlative guest. So yeah, and Chris is saying in chat that a new beta is supposed to be released any minute. They did release a new beta yesterday, .42, and I'm not sure if a .43 or 4 is due out today or not. We'll just have to wait and see. But the latest beta makes the Stream Deck, the Elgato Stream Deck, work, and that's a cool little piece of gear if you're looking for a switcher that's not an X keys. This is an X keys. I love my X keys, and by the way, you can get the X keys in our store. Is this the time when we press the button? Will this work if I do this? Yes, there it will. So So we sell all sorts of cool gear. We sell vMix, we sell PTZ Optics cameras, we sell Magewell and Yuan capture cards. We sell, oh God, you'll have to go to the store and find out. But the big news is that we design and build PCs for live streaming. So if you don't want it off the shelf from a big box store, or you don't want to build one yourself, or you know, maybe you can build it yourself, but it's for your church and you really don't want to be responsible for it forever, we give a 3-year warranty with the PCs that we build. So we'd love to talk with you about that. And you can very easily get a hold of me at easternshorebroadcasting.com. There's a contact form on that page. There's a contact page on that site. And so you can get the information there. So, okay, enough of this nonsense. Let's get ready for the big gun. So I was hanging out at WFX, which is a church conference in Orlando, back in November. And I was with Paul Richards from the PTZ, that crazy PTZ Optics guy. And he and I were walking around the floor, live streaming. And Paul says, let's go over and see Tyler. We can ask him questions. He knows everything. And I'm like, all right, who is this other guy besides me that knows everything about live streaming? And Paul says, no. He doesn't know everything about live streaming. He knows everything about PoE. And I'm like, PoE? You mean Edgar Allan PoE? And he said, no, power over Ethernet. And I said, oh, okay. Well then, by all means, let's meet the power over Ethernet guy. So we're going to bring in Tyler Andrews, the CEO of PoE Texas, and an electrical engineer. Don't cringe now when we say Texas A&M. Tyler, welcome. Glad to have you. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Tom. Thanks for having me here. Well, and real quick correction, University of Texas. And in Texas, that difference between Texas A&M and the university, that's big. So I'm here in Austin, Texas, and I'm
huge.
A little bit nervous. If you told everybody I was an Aggie, we might have to end this stream short so I can get in the car and get out of town.
Well, you know what? I just had Aggies on the brain. Okay, well, that's good. So UT, hook 'em horns. Go for it, man. I love it. All right, so we got the faux pas out of the way early. That's good. It's always good to get rid of that. So Tyler, other than your experience with Paul and I at WFX conference, how did live streaming show up on your radar? I know you're an electrical engineer. I know you know everything about all that kind of stuff. But when did live streaming kind of come into your orbit, and how did that happen?
Well, I've been working with, we've been selling a product for Paul over at PTZ Optics for a long time now. We sell a special adapter for his cameras, and it's been great, and I've really enjoyed it, and Paul has invited me to come on his show once or twice. And then, look, I'll just tell you the truth. What happened is I met you and Paul at WFX, and Paul was really cool. He pulled me to the side. He took me out for some drinks after the show, and he sat me down, and he looked at me and said, Tyler, why don't you have a streaming channel? What are you doing that is more important than getting out there and streaming and engaging with your audience and meeting people? And for about 2 hours, he laid it out for me. He said, Tyler, you need to have a streaming channel. You need to engage with the people that you're talking to. You really need to reach out. And from that, I thought, well, geez, who do I know that's an expert that could help me out? And that's why I called you, Tom. So I'm excited to be here, and I appreciate you making time to help coach me on the ins and outs on live streaming.
So you called me to find the name of an expert, huh? No, that was great. I enjoyed that chat. So good, yes. And you are going to be starting your own show about all things PoE, although it's not going to be titled that. What's the title going to be?
It's going to be convergence. I'm still working on the title, but the topic is going to be about convergence, and that's an industry term that people use for different things, but in this case, it refers to the fact that your Ethernet cable is becoming more and more useful. Things are converging onto Ethernet now that you couldn't do 5 years ago. So you're seeing things like audio-visual, streaming, lighting, security, access control, IoT. The world is consolidating on a form factor around networking cable. And it has to do with Power over Ethernet. So I'd like to bring in special guests like yourself. I've asked Paul to come in from PTZ Optics. I've asked some guys to come in and talk to us about PoE lighting, solar power over Ethernet, just a whole range of topics and how they're converging on, and the impacts of the convergence on Power over Ethernet. The ins, the outs, the good, the bad, how it works, what doesn't work, and basically present to people the ideas of how PoE could help and where it might not be as helpful.
So when is this show starting? Soon? Tomorrow?
We're going to be kicking... I wish. We're going to be kicking it off in February. So our first show is scheduled for February 19th at 11 a.m. Central.
All right. All right.
And you can find out more. We'll keep announcing it. So if you're interested to participate, let Tom know, let me know. We'll be getting the word out and starting announcing it online and trying to share with people so you can follow the live stream.
Excellent. And there actually is a PoE Texas Facebook page, and I'm sure you'll have information there on the Facebook page. And there's a PoE.com, a PoE Texas, PoETexasANM.com. Is that what it is? No. It's PoETexas.com. And you can certainly get information there. So okay, so Tyler, I've been under a rock all my life. You know, that's pretty typical for me. And PoE just showed up on my radar just like, you know, almost yesterday. But it showed up. You know how it showed up? Because I bought one of your adapters for my PTZ Optics camera. And that, but pretend like I know nothing, which is not going to be a big pretend, but pretend like I know nothing about PoE and introduce me to PoE, power over Ethernet, and tell me why the O is small and the E is big. I got to know the answers to those questions.
Well, thank you, Tom. I'll just start by saying I love power over Ethernet. So if I geek out and I really start nerding out, just warn me. I will tell you that I am going to weave in some bad engineer jokes. So, for example, I'm going to start talking about PoE from the ground up. Yeah, it's bad. But let's start with the basics. Power over Ethernet, and I'm just going to grab a cable here, is simply put, you're combining your power and your data signal on one network cable. And so the cool part is basically smart power. Now there are different types of PoE, and I can go into that. But the thing you really need to know is that you could take power and send it with your data on the same cable. And then there are a whole bunch of different ways to break it out, where you could plug it into one device, or you could break it out and just have the DC power and the data separate. Both are real options there for you. But the PoE, that question, it's because we and the PoE industry don't like TLAs, and so we had to figure out a way to distinguish ourselves from all the TLAs out there, and we picked the small O.
A TLA, is that some sort of Texas thing, TLA?
It's a three-letter acronym.
Three-letter acronym. Oh, see.
Three-letter acronym.
You have doubled my understanding already. This is awesome. Awesome. So you were saying something earlier. So PoE, power over Ethernet, really means more than just sending electricity over Ethernet, because you're talking about all sorts of signaling and things like that. So give us an idea of some of the kinds of devices. Well, let's start with just electricity. What can you power over Ethernet?
Well, I'll bring up a little diagram here that I like to use. Let me know if it's coming through, if we need to blow it up larger. But PoE has a couple of different standards in what you can power with it. So we'll start at the bottom. And I'm also going to help educate you on some language around power over Ethernet. When you hear somebody who's in the business say PoE, they're typically referring to a specific type of PoE called IEEE 802.3AF. And I'll say it again, because if you say this for all your friends and coworkers, you're going to sound like you know what you're saying. It's not IEE, it's IEEE 802.3AF. what you really need to know about PoE, just when you see the term PoE or IEEE 802.3AF, it means it can power up to about 13 watts. So what does that get you, like in practical terms? The things you can power with it are IP cameras, your standard IP camera, your PoE enabled access point, a normal one. You find a lot of Ubiquiti, Ingenious, those types of brands, they use PoE. And then you could do IP phones. And one that we're in particular known for is powering tablets like iPads, the Samsung Tab A, Tab E, those types of products. So that is handled on the 13 watt, and that's PoE. Now, a couple of us got a little bit ambitious. We felt like, hey, things were a little bit too limited just doing 13 watts. So a few years ago, we came out with a new standard, and you'll see it identified as PoE Plus. And that is also known as IEEE 802.3AT. So you add the AT, not the AF. And that's PoE Plus. That'll do 25 watts of power, and that does your larger devices, like your PTZ cameras. Now, I'll just let you know, though, the PTZ optics cameras, they run on standard PoE, just that first PoE. But some of the bigger guys, especially if you have an outdoor PTZ camera, those will run on PoE Plus. You'll also get your dual radio Wi-Fi access points, your bigger ones, you know, the ones where you're at like venues and you need MIMO and you need multiple radios. Those are handled on PoE Plus. And then your larger tablets and smaller computers can all run on PoE Plus. So your small HP and Lenovo tablets, the new iPad Pro, for example, can run on PoE Plus. You just have to have the right conversion from PoE to USB Type-C, and we do that. And then, this was really exciting, Tom, and I'll just throw it out there. At the end of last year, the much anticipated, you just super excited, 802.3 BT came out. And nobody settled on the nickname for it yet, but some people call it 4P PoE or 4-pair PoE. And some people call it PoE++ or Ultra PoE, whatever you call it. What's cool is that now it can do up to 70 watts of power at your end device. And to give you an idea what that looks like, you could do TVs and media displays. You could do lighting systems, shades, screens, laptops, hubs, you name it. With 70 watts of power, you can cover a lot. And then I'll finish up my long-winded explanation with the last one that you may run across. It's more rare these days, and if you're in the wireless internet service business, you'll see it a little bit more often. It's called passive PoE. And that's a standard where the PoE comes on all the time, and it's a little bit like the Wild West. You can do tons of things with that. You can do it at high voltage, low voltage, whatever you want. But you know, to just sum this all up, the real thing that is worth for you and the guys on the show is that PoE saves you time and saves you money. Because here's the real value for PoE. You can install devices and products where you don't have an outlet without having to call a licensed electrician and without having to pull a permit. So you could save 30%, you could save days and weeks off your project, and it's the kind of thing, because it's low voltage, it's safe enough for you. I mean, I imagine your audiences, if they're streaming, they're technical enough to handle the networking cable. If not, I'm sure they could call up a techie nephew or friend to come out and put the cable in for them. But it is really that simple, and it is that safe.
That's amazing. That is amazing. I mean, just taking one little common wire that everybody has one of those things and repurposing it out the yin-yang. So you could put 70 watts of power over that little Ethernet cable and it won't melt?
One Ethernet cable. I'm not going to recommend you do it on like your low grade, cheapest Cat 5e brand you get. But there are plenty of new.
You mean the
products
ones
out
I
on the
use?
market.
Okay, I got it.
Any good reputable brand, especially. I'm going to give you a tip: get UL listed wire. But if you have UL listed wire, it'll handle that 70 watts.
That's amazing. That is amazing. Mm-hmm. So, all right. So we've talked about what it is, what it does. You've got to have some toys there that you can show us that show PoE in action. Bring out your toys.
I do. You can't.
Come on.
You can't get me to come out and not show out my toys, Tom. So if you call me out, I'm going to bring toys.
Yeah.
So the toys I brought out today, I'm going to be showing a couple things. This is our new. So I've got our little display here. I take this to trade shows. This is probably, you remember this from WFX, but this is where I show the different types of applications about how you can wall mount and the different types of things. The thing that I'm really showing off today is, and I'm announcing for the very first time. No one else has heard about this yet. Our new PoE switch. It's an 8-port PoE switch, and we're announcing it today for the first time. And what's cool about this PoE switch is that it has a little LCD screen controller over here. And the reason why we do that is we want our products and whatever we do to be accessible. We want it to be the kind of thing where people can get it. And one of the things that I know I struggle with is you plug something into your PoE device, is it working or not? And what we did is we made sure we picked a PoE switch that can tell you exactly what's happening with your PoE on a screen right there where you can see it. It tells you how long your run is just by an estimate. It tells you once your device is powered up and is actually negotiating. And it tells you how much power it's drawing. And what's cool about it too is with the little controls that you have on this, you can prioritize how much PoE you give things. So if you have something and you're like, look, in case of an emergency, keep this one on. You can also have it overrun the power over Ethernet just a little bit. So instead of getting 25 watts, you can get up to 32 watts on a port. So it's a handy tool, and it's a great way to give yourself a sense of this is working and my PoE is on right then and there. Immediate feedback. You're not having to guess. And so what I'll do is, Tom, if it's all right, I'm going to plug in as a demo so you can see how this works. I've got my little cable here plugged into the switch, and I've got this is our new PoE to Lightning adapter. What this does is it converts power over Ethernet to charge and provide data to this iPad here. So I'm gonna take and get it all set up, and then I'm gonna plug it in for you, and you'll be able to see as I plug it in that it's drawing, that it connects up, and I'll get the hit play on that, and you can see that up on that port number 7, it's registered that something's on, and the length of the cable is telling it's less than a meter. And right now I'm drawing about 11 watts of power, which is standard for an iPad, and within the PoE standard. And right now, so this iPad is running power and data over this network cable while we're live streaming.
That is amazing. That is amazing. And that'll work with an iPad, and you mentioned some Android devices too?
We can work with Android devices, and we're the only guys I know so far who do power over Ethernet to USB Type-C. So if you're into the iPad Pro 12.9 inch, if you're into the Samsung Tab series, everything is going to USB-C, and now you can get that data and power over a network cable.
Yeah, I'm sorry, and I accidentally switched subjects on you right in the middle of the stream because we were talking about the switch, and I was still enamored with the iPad adapter. All right, yeah. So the switch will tell me everything I need to know about what's going on with that line, how much power is going, the length of the cable. Does it indicate whether there's data present at all?
It does indicate it. You'll see that, and what I'll do is I'll get this screen off the way. You could see the link light. There's a little link light that's right by my finger. Okay. You probably see it blinking right now. That link light isn't telling you that now it is communicating and it's got data.
Gotcha.
And then with an iPad, the way that you check to make sure that you've got wired data, I could do that real quick. Because everybody's curious, like, really, how do you know you've got wired data? You come here to your General Settings tab, and you'll see here on the left, right in here, it should bring up an Ethernet. And I'll bring that up here. And it shows you got the PoE Texas LAN, and so that tells you that gives you the point of access to be able to control this as a device, changing the IP address, changing the domain, the DNS server, whatever you need to do on that iPad.
That is awesome. That is awesome. And this is available in a store at PoETexas.com.
Well, the PoE to Lightning adapter, it's not today. The Switch is available in the store today. The Lightning adapter, the Lightning adapter is going to be coming out in the next 3 to 4 weeks. We got trapped, frankly, by the everybody trying to get all their stuff produced at the end of the year. So the guys who make this device for us weren't able to get it out on time. But they'll get it to us in the next 3 to 4 weeks. And it's ready to go. It'll be ready.
That's going to be huge. Both of those things are going to be huge. Amazing. All right. So can I take my grandson's Amazon Fire 8 tablet and power it and connect it to the internet over this device?
Well, it's that one is Android? Not Lightning. That has a little micro USB adapter.
Right.
And yes, we do sell a micro USB adapter that will power it. The challenge is those Fires, they don't have the network functionality to be able to do the data over the USB cable. Okay. So that's going to take a little bit. But if you want, Tom, for you, just because I like you, I can put together a little demo on how you can pull that off and how you can have your own device doing power and data to your little Amazon Fire.
Well, here's the application. I really didn't tell the truth. It's not for my grandson. It's for me. And it's going to be used as a teleprompter in a school studio that I'm building right now. Actually, a pair of teleprompters with a pair of 8-inch tablets doing the teleprompter software. And it would be so great to be able to have them powered, and even better to have them have access to the network so that, boom, we can drop text onto it without having to type it in or use some sort of thumb drive. But it sounds like there's some possibilities there. That's cool. And that's the thing that I'm sure you get all the time, is that you guys design something, you put it out there in the wild, and people use it 50,000 ways that you never anticipated. Oh yeah. And so you're thinking right now of 5 stories of when that's happened.
Oh yeah. Not all of which I can talk about, but one that
yeah.
Well, somebody calls up and he says, "Hey Tyler, can I do this really crazy thing?" And we're thinking, sure. A couple of ones that we work with that I really like is these guys. Actually, this one here, we didn't originally start out thinking that we would do PoE for iPads. But a friend of mine, Dean Heckler, he's at hecklerdesign.com, does these iPad mounts, and fantastic designs. He does a whole range of products for your office space. And he came to us and said, "Well, Tyler, can you do an iPad?" And I said, yeah, we could figure it out. And we worked out the details. And now the PoE comes installed inside this mount. And then I'll give a teaser trailer here. He came back to me and said, "Tyler, can I do it differently?" And so Dean's coming out with a brand new product. I don't want to spoil his thunder, but it will be an amazing new product, and it incorporates our device inside of it. And I'm very excited about it because we're breaking some of the boundaries that you should have with PoE to do this for Dean. And it happens all the time. And, another case was Paul came to us a few years ago and said, "Hey, Tyler, people are buying your device and they're plugging an adapter on it to fit to our cameras. Can you make me one with the adapter on it?" And I said, "Sure, why not?" And we went out and we made an adapter. And so now The PTZ Optics cameras have a special plug adapter that is very common for broadcasting, but not very common outside of the camera and broadcasting world. And we made it for him, and we sell it right under with his name on it. You know, it just says the GAF PTZ Optics, so you can get the product that fits for his camera. So we see it all the time, and I never would have expected it that we'd be so popular in churches and with streamers, but we're finding out that we're very popular in the space.
You are very popular, and your products are popular. So there you go. It's sort of a double whammy. Okay. Well, I can tell that we've got a bunch of questions that are beginning to stack up in the chat room, and I want to take those, but I do want to take those in post show. So let's kind of wrap up here. Are there any other toys that you'd like to show us before we wrap up this show and move to post show with questions?
Well, I'll give two things to wrap up, and I think this will cover some of the questions that are coming up in the chat room. The biggest challenge that I think a lot of people have with PoE is they're hesitant to dive in both feet, and frankly, to get into PoE deeply, it can feel like a huge investment, but it doesn't need to be. One of the things that we do here at PoE Texas is we also offer, and we're really well known for that first step into PoE, which is a midspan. And what this does is it works with the switch and the networking devices that you have, and just adds PoE onto that for you. And so I'm going to encourage people, don't feel bashful about doing a PoE project. Because you're thinking to yourself, I don't want to drop $3,000 on a 24-port monstrosity of a switch. You could do PoE down from a single device all the way up to a handful of devices, all the way up to like a 16-port device, and we can support that. And then I'm also going to encourage your audience, don't be afraid to tackle the projects. It is not that hard to spec out and pick the right projects. And what we'll do, Tom, is I'm going to give you a link to a little workbook that we've created. It takes 10 minutes. It shows you all the details for how you size your equipment, where you find it, helps you pick out the information that you need to know to be able to pick out the right PoE, and then just dive straight into it. So I would encourage everybody, give it a shot, and you'd be surprised. And I'll tell you what I did with PoE for my daughter's birthday a year ago. She told me she wanted a Harry Potter birthday party. So I went ahead and I made a Harry Potter wand game. Little kids were running around the space using these wands to turn on PoE powered things, and we made feathers float, boxes open, lights turn on. Kids were just having a ball. And it was really just exciting. It was just a fun, quirky application for PoE, and that's the kind of stuff I love to hear about. So with your audience, if you come up with something quirky or funny, or even if it's just a straight up basic project, let us know. Post it on our Facebook page. Tell me about it. I want to hear about it.
That is too awesome. I want you coming to my birthday in November and bring a toy like that. That is just awesome. Well, Tyler, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Again, we're gonna cut over to post show and take some questions for those of you that have been asking questions. If you can go ahead and cut and paste it back into the active part of the chat, that would be really helpful. If people want to get a hold of you, they can go to your website at poetexas.com. They can go to your Facebook page, which is PoE Texas. And they can get a hold of you and your team, and they can get the workbook. We're going to put a link in chat for the workbook. How can we do that?
I'll put a link in the chat for the workbook.
Okay. And for those of you that are watching after the fact on YouTube and Facebook, we'll put a link in the comments there too, so that you can get that workbook. Very cool. Very cool. All right, Tyler, we'll hang around for just a second, and we'll get to the post show. And, you know, it's so cool to have folks on that are smarter than me. No, wait, that's every week. But to have somebody on that really knows the stuff and can create, using power over Ethernet, a spectacular birthday party scenario for his daughter, that is just way cool. So these are the kind of folks that we want to be working with, that are full steam on ingenuity, full steam on thinking outside of the box. And these are the folks we want to be associated with, I think. This is just me talking. So we're gonna move to post-show, but before we do, don't forget to save the date. April 9th is the Streaming Idiot Meetup at NAB. Don't forget, if you want the vMix, if you want to update your vMix to use the code GIFT in the Eastern Shore Broadcasting store to update your vMix to vMix 22, and you can get the beta. And somebody asked me the other day, Tom, where do I get the beta? I've already updated, but where do I get the beta? Well, you have to go to the vMix forum to get the beta. It's not, there are a couple of thresholds you have to cross. So you have to go to the vMix forum, which is forums, plural, forums.vmix.com. Go to the general discussion section and go to the vMix 22 section, and there you can download what they're calling vMix 22 preview. And you definitely want to do that. If you find yourself in Best Buy and you're thinking about buying a PC from Best Buy, give us a call. We're not going to save you any money, I promise you that, but we're going to give you something that's designed for what your need is, and we can do that, and we sure can. So stick around for the post show. You got your questions for Tyler, and don't forget to tune in next week's show, which is January 23rd, when the 2018 Live Streamer of the Year will be our guest. Yes, that's right. Rich Ignacio will be here on Streaming Idiots to talk about why, to show you all the cool things that he did in 2018 and why he was named 2018 Live Streamer of the Year. So stick around for the post show, and sign up for our group, Streaming Idiots. You want to be in that group. That's where all the cool streamers are. So we'll see you next week. Take care. This live streaming stuff is so much fun. Gee whiz. And we are out. And we'll go back to Tyler. And Tyler, I think I turned your mic back on. Hello, Tyler.
Great.
Oh,
can you hear?
there
I'm
he
back.
is.
I'm back.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes. I turned you off, and then I said, did I hit that button twice or just once? All right. So we've had a bunch of questions, and you don't need to pay any attention to anybody that's being critical, like Jan. Jan thinks he knows everything. So when somebody that does know everything shows up, he gets his feelings hurt. So, so don't pay any attention to that. All right, so you're watching the chat. Why don't you have a go at the questions, and I'll take notes here.
Sure. Well, I'll scroll up, kind of get back toward the beginning, see if I can get some of them. Do you use TDR to determine wire length? No, I haven't been using TDR to determine wire length. It's likely calculating it based on the power consumption that it's calculating for the line loss. It's not that hard to do out of the switch. But you know what? I will get a better answer for you on that, because it's no fun getting an answer of no. Let me see if I can get that answer for you, and I'll make sure I add that later on. So, scrolling up. Apologize, the chat window keeps running down. Where can we get a copy of that chart? From Dave. Dave, what I'll do is I'll put this on our blog. We're going to have a follow-up blog on this, and I'll make sure that I get that blog out to Tom so you can get that, and it'll be available to you. Jan is talking about everything fails as UPS. We'll skip down that. I'm not sure. That sounds like it was a long-running conversation I wasn't a part of. And it looks like, can that switch turn on and off devices via laptop connected to it? The switch, this particular model of the switch doesn't do that separately. What you would do is you'd be looking for a managed switch, and our managed switch is going to come out here. We're going to have a new managed switch coming out in the next 4 weeks. That would let you remote into it and remotely control a laptop. I think the challenge with that is with laptops, you'd have to make sure you get the boot up procedure the way you want it to make sure it just doesn't boot to your basic window. But yeah, there are definitely products out there. We're coming out with our own managed products this year, and that is coming up soon. Ken is saying, and tell me if I'm going about this the right way, Tom.
You're good.
I'm
Keep
still
going.
new to interacting with everyone. Somebody was asking about some PoE access points that expect 24 volts won't work with a 48 volt PoE, and you're talking about Ubiquiti, and that's correct. Ubiquiti and MikroTik are migrating to traditional PoE, but they still use the passive 24 volt system that I talked about. And the good news is we do both. I'm probably going to get a lot of hate mail for this, but I personally like the 24 volt PoE standard for specific things. And I think it's a very cool standard because it gives you a lot of flexibility. But long story short, this range of products that we have are specifically designed for Ubiquiti and MikroTik, and they will call out specifically on their data sheet if they're 24 volt PoE. But if you get in a bind, we also have adapters that can convert 48 volt regular traditional PoE to 24 volt PoE, and vice versa. If you have a 24 volt network and you got a 48 volt device, we have devices that'll get you back and forth. So that shouldn't be a big showstopper.
You're going to get tons of hate mail on that. Tons of hate mail. I can predict it right now.
When setting up a PoE system, do you have to consider the cat rating on the cables? I would say yes in certain conditions. 99% of the people you're talking to, you can make do with a good quality. I'm going to say get a good quality because you can always find garbage cables, but get a good quality Cat 5e cable, and that will give you up to gigabit data rates. It's only when you start bumping up into the 10 gig range and you're really starting to push a lot of data that Cat 6 makes a difference. If you're worried about high-powered PoE, there are different ranges of people who will actually do cables that are Cat 5e with thicker conductors inside for the higher wattage. Do you make a PoE device that can be powered by a 12 volt battery? Yes. We do make several devices specifically. In this case, it's usually in the solar. In the solar range, they range anywhere from 12 to 24 volts. And the simple answer is yes. Next month, we're coming out with a whole blog. I'm working with a guy named Rob Rollo, who's a solar expert, to help us walk through that process. But the simple answer is yes. We have a product that takes 12 to 36 volts and steps it up. And we have mid-spans that are specifically designed for that solar system that'll take anywhere from, like I said, 12 to 24 volts. Step it up to traditional PoE. We can also step it up to the 24 volt PoE. So, Kiwi Chris is asking for PoE to power my widget. Actually, that's a very good question. Widgets are quite expensive, so I find not a lot of people buy them, but if you need, you can reach out to me and we'll hook you up with the power for your widget.
You had me going on
yeah,
that one. She was.
All right. So I'm just checking out here. In my experience, there's also a flavor of PoE that Cisco uses that is unique to their products. Thank you, Ken, for pointing that out. That's called UPoE, and you'll find that what UPoE does is it will work with any PoE Plus device, but what's supposed to be a signature for UPoE is that it can go up to 60 watts of power. But you have to be careful because they don't, right now the UPoE switches aren't per the new standard for that BT, and they actually use a link layer data protocol communication to turn on, to go above 30 watts. So just keep that in mind as you're picking products. I personally don't like it. I hate it when people create what I call compatibility traps, where you must use my product to work with my product, otherwise it doesn't work. But you can run into that some. Any plans on a managed BT switch, say the 16 to 24 port range? Yes. We will be unveiling in April here in Austin at the MUM, which is the Microtech Users Meeting. We're going to unveil our new mid-span, and we're also going to, and before that, we're going to come out with our new managed switch that will be 8-port, 16-port managed. It'll have a port that you can plug into and do the managed. So we'll have both the managed mid-span injector and the managed switch. This is a great question from Ken. Can you explain the hardware handshake that goes on when a device is plugged in? It's two-step, and it's really quite simple. If you want to get a good night's rest, I recommend getting the IEEE 802.3 standard and just reading through it. I think it's only a couple thousand pages long. But the negotiation basically happens like this. Inside my little device here, there's a chip. And it has a special resistor, specific resistor at a specific value, so that when I plug into the switch sends a little 10-volt pulse down the line. And as that 10-volt pulse comes through, it'll pass through the resistor and send back a certain amount of current. And if the switch sees a current, when it sees that current come through, then what it'll do is it will send another 10 to 14-volt pulse. The pulses are low enough it wouldn't damage any computer or anything non-PoE you plug into it. That little pulse goes through, and then the chip inside makes sure it sends back a specific range of current at a specific time, and that current coming back tells the switch, that's what we call a classification, and that tells that switch how much power that little device is planning on using and what it can accept. And then once it gets that little current draw back, it goes okay, and then it turns the volts on. And what this switch will do is it'll turn on a 55-volt signal. So that'll power up that 55-volt signal, and you run your PoE. So, will PoE Texas be at NAB? I'll be in attendance. I won't be exhibiting, but I'll be walking around, and I'm planning on making it to your show, Tom, or to your event. So I'll be there with my coat on. I got a little LED badge. It says PoE Smart Power. You'll see me there. I have cable reels 90 meters of 23 gauge Cat 6A with double shielding. I use it routinely for 10 gig links. Yeah, but it will work great with PoE++. At that high gauge power, it does. We've got Kiwi Chris is asking if PoE to power Ethernet to a fiber converter. And yes, there are different types of devices that allow you to take a fiber and add PoE to it and send that out. It's a media converter. There are devices that take fiber in and put out PoE. I don't have one right now today, but that's on my to-do list. That product, though, you're looking is called a GPON, GPON. And you can get it in 4-port, 8-port, different types of configurations. All right, how am I doing, Tom? Am I getting to the questions fast enough?
You're blowing me away. This is awesome. This is awesome.
Okay.
Let me pose a question for you while everybody else catches their breath.
Definitely.
All right, so let's say I've got a studio. There you go. And I've got some cameras, and I really would, and these are just regular plug-in-the-wall cameras. You know, what are they, 12 volts? I don't know. Golly gee, I plug them in the wall and they work. Can I make those, can I adapt that to PoE? Is there a way to do that and just run one Ethernet cable to them? Let's say it's
run it by me again.
I've got a Canon Vixia G30 that takes a 12 volt DC but it's got the little brick, and I plug it in the wall, and it's got all that stuff. And I'd love to eliminate that. Can I just get the proper size little pin to go into the camera and connect it to PoE? With
Definitely. Yeah.
PTZ optics type converter.
So yes. So if I'm hearing you right, you've got a camera. It doesn't have PoE built in, but you'd like it to be PoE. Is that right?
Right.
It's very easy. That's called a PoE splitter. We're known for our splitters, and we have PoE splitters and PoE plus splitters, and we do everything from 5 volts to 12 volts to 24 volts. Right now, in our PoE plus line, we have 5, 12. We're going to come out with 15, so you can power the new Microsoft Surfaces. We have 19 and we have 24, and so you could do PoE in, and then it would give you could get any one of those, and just do your plug adapter into your camera, and we can help you source it if you have a really special type. That's what we specialize in doing. So yeah, let me get that Canon for you. I'll get you set up.
All right. Well, I was just using that as an example. I don't have it, but I know that there are folks that are asking that. I mean, everybody wants to simplify. They want fewer cables. They want fewer odds and ends that they have to deal with. And it seems like this is using PoE is an area where people can do a lot of simplification of their gear. Especially for folks that are on the Chris is saying in the chat that the splitter is what he's looking for. Now, do y'all make like any kind of a PoE tester or something like that?
We do, and I'm actually a little embarrassed I don't have one up here. For those of you who are just getting into PoE, we have a little pocket-sized tester. And it's the kind of thing where you can plug in PoE into one end, and it does the same function as our little display here in your hand. So if you're out and about, you don't know what you've got for your PoE, you can plug it in, and you can actually have it pretend to be a PoE device, so it'll turn on the PoE, tell you what you have, and then you can also plug your end device into it and see what your power consumption is. So it's a handy troubleshooting tool. I
have one right here.
I'm out. There you go. Hey, I see it. Good call, Tom. I like that. And have you been using it? That's the big question.
I have. It's really cool. I mean, I had to go back and read the directions. But it's very cool. It's a nice device. I've dropped it a bunch of times and it still works. So there's the real acid test for me. And this is going in my kit. And even when I'm setting up a rig that I know, for example, I'm setting up PoE at the school. This will give me a great chance, since everything is split. One room has all the controls, the other room has all the cameras. I can go test at the camera to make sure I'm getting what I'm expecting. So very good. Yeah. Thank you. And you can get these at PoETexas.com. I have not used the PC power jack.
The little DC power jack. They go in the top and the bottom, and that allows you to test out your DC power supplies too.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah. So let's say I'm playing with this guy, the Switch, and I don't have this cool display, but I want to know how much power this whole thing is consuming. I can just plug in the DC power supply in the back, and it'll tell me what the whole consumption is.
That is awesome. I can't wait to try that. Man, I love toys. I can tell you like toys too. Obviously, with what you did for your daughter, that's not something that you set up in 5 minutes. But she's going to talk about that the rest of her life. Her grandchildren will know about that. I mean, that's how cool that is.
It is fun, and I'm doing a project right now. I love doing this, and I'll nerd out. I'm doing a little project right now where I'm on cheap, right? I just grabbed a monitor off that I had sitting on a shelf, and I'm turning it into a media player, and it's going to be PoE powered, and we're going to put it in the break room so people can see the news or check on or watch YouTube videos, live stream in the break room, and we're going to do it all over one networking cable. So I get a kick out of doing stuff like that and trying to pull off the we always are trying to top each other. What could I do now with PoE?
Folks, this is the kind of guy you want to be associated with. No doubt. No doubt. He raises the level of everybody around him. You can just tell. Well, Tyler, you have been very gracious with your time today. I certainly appreciate that. And it's been a joy to be chatting with you for the last couple of days about this show and about your upcoming show. And folks, if you're interested in more about PoE and the technology surrounding it, that's what Tyler's show on Convergence is going to be starting next month in February. And you can get more information from that if you will go like his Facebook page, PoE Texas, or go to his I guess it's just called a website, PoETexas.com. And you can keep up with all the goings on there. And Tyler has very graciously invited me to come on his show in March. I don't have the date off the top of my head, but that's going to be a lot of fun, and we'll make sure that everybody knows about that. So Tyler, I think you're off to a great start in the live streaming world, and obviously you've got the other PoE world well in hand. Any parting words for these folks as we go out?
You know, what I'd like to say is getting into the streaming community has been awesome. Like, I can't tell you how open and friendly and just really accepting the whole streaming community is. So I want to thank you for accepting a newbie, coming in green, and making it such a great experience. So thank you, Tom, and thank you to your audience. Everybody who's asked great questions, and I can feel that the streaming community is a very welcoming and open bunch, and it makes it exciting. So thank you for letting me engage with you and get to meet all of you, and I hope I can meet all of you at NAB at Tom's big event.
That's going to be a blast, and Tyler, you're absolutely right. This is a tremendous community, and that's because it's got tremendous people in it. You know, it takes on the character of the people. And it really is. And what's that date? Here's the test part of the show.
April 8th.
Now. I'm sorry? April 9th is what you said, right? Tuesday, April 9th.
Yes, April 9th.
That's what you said. Yeah, it's that Texas accent that made it sound different. Yeah, April 9th at NAB, location and exact time to be announced. But Tyler, you're tremendous. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. We really appreciate it. Everybody give Tyler a big hand. You know, where you are at home, give him a big hand. And visit his website and like his Facebook page so that you can stay up with that too. And my guess is, you know, Tyler, let me just have a little monologue here at the end, that as you begin to engage the streaming community, you're going to find a whole new category of application. Where people say, you know, Tyler, it'd be really great if my kit could plug in this here and do these 23 things out there, and all of a sudden your brain just explodes with 50 ideas of how that's going to happen. And so, you know, we welcome you into the community because we like you already, but also because it's going to be some really cool stuff that's going to be coming down the pike, and we're happy to be part of that. So that's great, folks. Take a minute and go visit those pages, and don't forget to tune in next week when we have Rich Ignacio on the show, and we're going to let the stream run out right now so that we don't cut you right off. So we'll be back next week.